How's everyone today? I'm here on the treadmill alive, back from Austin, Texas, from the Seller Summit. Doing good. Can't complain. We had a long day yesterday, though, because our flight, we got to the Austin airport and 2 hours ahead, like you're supposed to, and got in there and got a text message that our flight had been delayed 3 hours. I was so bummed because we'd already gone through security. I'm like, dang it, you couldn't have texted us 15 minutes before this. Anyway, that's okay. We just enjoyed the airport longer than I would have loved to. How's everyone doing? All right. So, yes, back from the Whatnot Seller Summit. It was amazing. Got to meet a lot of people in person that we know and love through Whatnot, but have never met in person. So that was awesome. And learned some interesting things and had some amazing experiences. They fed us, they taught us, they, um, it made me really feel part of something amazing. That's what I will say for sure, for sure. And then, so welcome in, read the show notes. Thanks for joining, everyone. And I'll tell you a little bit about some of the things that they shared. And while we were leaving on Friday to head to Austin, the notice came out about the shipping adjustments. I haven't actually seen it on my profile yet. They're rolling it out slowly. Show me in chat with me, the word me, if you have on your Seller Hub on web version a new thing under the shipping that shows you what your shipping adjustment rates have been over the whatever period of time. Because they are going to start in a few months rolling out having sellers. So PJ's got it, Style Patch got it. Having sellers have to start helping pay for the adjustments. So I knew it was coming. I've been warning people, please use accurate weights so that you're not sending out packages with the wrong weight. So if you are seeing that, hopefully it didn't look too horrible and you didn't panic. But if it did, that means you've been sending too many packages out with the incorrect weight. So interestingly, we were sitting at a table during one of the sessions with a lady who's a successful Whatnot seller, and her husband actually works for the post office. And I'm not going to say names, obviously. Yeah, a lot of people have been taking advantage. So I was sitting at a table with a lady, her husband works for the Postal Service, and we asked her, does the Postal Service actually um, have a way to track? And she said, absolutely. When they scan things, it's on a scale and it has a way to laser measure everything. And they know exactly what that package weighs and what the dimensions are of that package when they do the initial scanning. And they actually keep reports. So they know exactly what it was when they got it. And she was saying it was interesting because she was saying there are sellers on other platforms that are really scammy who send out empty boxes. They'll just get the free postal service boxes and send them out empty and try to get away with, getting money for for sending nothing and then claiming, oh, something must have happened in transit because it was there when I sent it. And she said the postal service can come right back and say, this is what it weighed when you dropped it off, and this is what it weighed when it got to the customer. So it was the same weight, which means there was nothing in it from the beginning because the weight did not change. So, yeah. So they know all that stuff. So you can't really get away with a lot of things because they measure, they weigh, and it's all recorded. All right. So, yeah, that'll be rolling out. I don't know a whole lot of details about it other than what you've all seen. If you don't see it yet, it will be coming. They're rolling it out to all sellers, the information, the message that shows up. Another thing that showed up is the link to Shopify. And what is that? So, what that is a direct Shopify where you can download, if you have a Shopify shop somewhere or you have listings in a Shopify format, you can directly then download those into Whatnot. So I know a lot of people are excited about that already had some kind of Shopify, and it will show up again in your web version in Seller Hub. So either of those two things. So I got the Shopify one, but I haven't seen the shipping one yet because they're just rolling it out. I don't know what their criteria is, if they just, pick usernames in a certain range. I don't know. So anyway, those are two new things you'll start seeing. And I'm excited about them because it's nice for sellers to be accountable. It's less of an incentive for scammers, for sure. And yeah, you'll be seeing two different things in your Seller Hub on the web version. One or the other you may already have. Does anyone have both? Does anyone have both that was listening? So one of them is a notice or a new section under shipping that shows statistics on adjustments, shipping adjustments, and what percentage of adjustments you've made and the approximate dollar amount that Whatnot has been covering for you because you sent out packages that weren't accurate. That's one of them. And then the other one is Shopify, which shows up in your Seller Hub, which means that you can now directly get any listings you have on a Shopify over to Whatnot. So those two things. You may see one, the other, or both. Does anyone have both showing up? Anyway, those are new. So, hey, welcome. Glad to see you. So, I just got back last night from the Whatnot Seller Summit in Austin. It was an amazing experience. The word that I got is that this was the first one, and their plan is to have two every year, one East Coast, one West Coast, and then a big one um, somewhere so that almost anyone who wants to participate can come. So that's their goal to have those. They had amazing speakers. Both of the founders were there and spoke. They had lots of panels with other, people. They had breakout sessions about different specific topics. And so Stay Home says you see the Shopify imports. Okay, good. So yeah, you'll get one or the other or both soon. But yeah, that's the news about those. So anyone here in the audience that was there at the Seller Summit? To my knowledge, myself and Fancy Fabrics were the only fabric sellers at the Seller Summit. So if I'm wrong and someone else was there, please share in chat that you were there. And I'm sad if I missed people that were there. Hopefully they have more to come out. We tried, but they were sold out. Yeah. It was pretty quick sellout. And I would say, I don't know. I forgot to ask someone how many tickets they actually sold, but I want to say maybe there were 400 people there. I don't know. I'm curious to ask. I forgot to ask whether there it was too, it was just too exciting to be there. They had some really fun stuff. They gave us really cool swag bags and t-shirts, and they had some of the, the machine, the claw machine. Hey, like it, swipe it, where you reach the claw in to get stuff. They had two of those set up with whatnot swag in them. And T Barbie was there, not a fabric seller. It was amazing. So very cool. Let's see, 500 tickets sold, about 40 to 59 were no shows. Oh, so you got that stat. Okay. So yeah, that was a good guess then. About 400 or so were there, a little bit more than that. They just gave us really cool t-shirts. They're kind of a tan color and they have the Whatnot logo on them. And then they had a room where you could go and get your username, sublim whatever that heat transfer is. They have your usernames on little heat transfers, and you get them on there on your t-shirt and on your bags. Yeah, there you go, DTF. So they had a room where they had a company hired that was doing the DTF onto your shirts and your bags. So I got that. So that was pretty cool. And it was amazing, you guys. It was just a really, really fun experience. And it was kind of surreal to get to meet other sellers that you've never met in person, that you see regularly. And I had the thought that they were gonna, that I was gonna meet some of them in person and be like, oh, they're so different in person. No. I was like, it was so familiar to just go up and hug Leslie from A Reworker's Passion. She's totally genuine, authentically her. Um, D Archivist, Julie Becker, the Coops, House of Coop. Who else did I meet? I mean, just tons of people. It was just so surreal. It was so awesome. So very, very cool experience. Yeah, and that was kind of funny. The hotel that they used a hotel that had a really big convention, um, you know, rooms and big rooms. And the night before the convention or before the summit, they had a flaw in there, or a glitch in their fire extinguishing system. Something broke, and so the roofs, or the ceilings in all of the hotel, were dripping this goopy, watery stuff that smelled kind of like, smoke, because it's that fire extinguisher stuff. And some people stayed at the hotel. Yes, I did get to meet Paul, Philly Flipper, and he's as big and as real as in life as he is on screen. I mean, the guy's hilarious, and he's just this big old fun, goofy guy. So that was fun. But yeah, some people stayed at the hotel, and we didn't stay there because my husband's sister lives in Austin, and we stayed with them, which was amazing. Um, they have a super nice house in about 20 minutes away from downtown Austin, and they're empty nesters like us, and so it was a lot of fun. So yeah, what else can I tell you? You live about an hour away. Oh, see, you could have totally come if you'd been able to snag a ticket. So yeah, I don't know where they'll have them, in the future, but again, they're kind of, the thing they hinted at was one sort of East Coast, one sort of West Coast, and then somewhere in the middle, a big one. And that way a lot more people can attend. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, and I would guess, sometime about the same time next year, maybe a little bit more towards summer. But yeah, super exciting. And I think they'll only get better and bigger and more amazing, because But they really did do a bang up job. It was a lot of fun. They had just really neat things. It'll have to be East Coast. You don't fly. Uh, yeah, so you'll want something closer in, huh? Yeah, the whole flying experience, honestly, that was the worst part of the whole trip. That it's just not fun to fly anymore. Um, they just, ever since 9/11, it just kind of sucks, to be honest. So, yep. And we actually we took we live in Utah and we have a front runner train that goes what about 150 miles along the Wasatch Front. And so my daughter took us over to the train. We rode the train into the city to the airport. And by the time we got to the airport, got to our gate and everything, we were already like, sheesh, we could have driven, like 4 hours and been 4 hours in. But Austin's pretty far from Utah. So it would have been a really, really long drive. But, honestly, I love road trips in some ways because you get to see a lot of things and, you can take your own pace. So if we'd had time, maybe we would have done a road trip. But anyway, but gas right now is insane. So that would have cost us a lot of money too. So anyway, no easy solutions for traveling for sure. No convention drama. Well, other than the ceilings leaking, I wouldn't say there was much drama. Everyone was just super totally psyched to be there. Lots of fun. I don't know of any drama that went on. So, yeah. Flying is not bad if the people that don't like to follow the rules stuck to. Well, that's for sure. No, it was at a hotel called The Line in downtown Austin. So, and like a lot of big cities right now, um, I don't know, downtown Austin. I mean, UT is right there in downtown Austin, so you have the college scene and everything, but downtown Austin's like a lot of big cities right now where they're kind of icky because you've got a lot of crime and gangs and homeless, and it's just kind of icky, but it's, they're working on it. So, yeah. Your son is a pilot for a major airline in the story. I can only imagine the stories he tells. Yeah. Yes, there is a JW Marriott right there. I'm just kind of surprised they didn't use that one. But it might. There was also some big music festival there that weekend. And so maybe there was limits. And yeah, that JW Marriotts are pretty pricey, that's for sure. I've stayed at the one in Houston before. They're pretty bougie. They're pretty nice hotels. All right. So, what did I learn? So, my biggest takeaway from the whole thing, besides just being totally psyched, honestly, to be involved with Whatnot. I mean, that was probably my number one takeaway is just like, this is freaking awesome. Whatnot is amazing. It's changing a lot of lives unbelievably. Do you have to work hard? Heck yes. But if you're willing to work hard and be smart about how you do it, the sky is the limit, you guys. The sky is the limit. You can do whatever you want to do on this platform other than be a scammer. Um, as long as you're within the rules, the sky is the limit. So other than that, so they showed a statistic, and this was actually the very end, and that night, how, okay, so all other platforms that are shopping type platforms, what do people do when they go to that platform? They go in there and they use the search bar to search for something they want, right? Well, guess what? That's how people have been trained to shop And that's what they do on Whatnot too. So guess what? We have a major problem on Whatnot. People go to the search bar and search for something they want. And what do they find? What do they find? A whole lot of nothing, because people aren't creating quality listings. Yeah, they find A, 4 to 7 ounces, B, 8 to 11 ounces. And he even showed that, it's like that he showed people's shops. And we all just started cracking up because it literally was that. It was A, 4 to 7 ounces, no dang picture. And he said, so new shoppers, people coming to the app, 90% of them buy nothing because they don't get it. Now, a lot of them eventually figure it out, but yeah, no one is searching for a random pool. It doesn't, what is that? They don't get it. And so, 90% of them buy something that's actually listing, but only 9% of them stick around and actually buy something, you guys. We are sucking at getting people to understand and find something they actually want to buy. I've been preaching this since I started doing these walk and talks. You've got to have something listed so that people see something that you have. And I think if you just have enough things actually listed that people can actually go buy, and you buy it now in your shop, then they can at least see the kind of stuff you're going to have so that they're willing to come and shop with you. So, boy, that just hit home with me. I was like, yep. And to see that statistic, I was like, yep, because people don't automatically know how the platform works when they find it. And they are programmed by how everything else works to go to the search bar and type something in. So you've got to have listings. Got to have listings. Yeah, search needs to improve too. I agree. But it's just like any other platform. If you have the right keywords that people are searching for in those quality listings, people will find them, and they may or may not directly buy that item, but at least they'll come and see what you have in your shops and hopefully come to your shows. Okay, so have quality listings that people will be able to find and see. We got to do a better job of that. A lot better job. Let's see what else really hit home to me. Let me think. I mean, I think if we can somewhat get past that hurdle a little bit, that would be amazing. But they talked a lot about, just the numbers of what we're pulling in and Whatnot is. I mean, we're sitting in the App Store on a regular basis at number 3 download app overall. And think about what that means. I mean, that means that we're downloaded more than some of the biggest things out there, you know. And then in shopping, we fluctuate between 1 and 3. So yeah. Sometimes when I search for something, the app glitches out. Are they working on that? Honestly, they're working on everything. They're working on everything. I mean, kudos to, the Whatnot employees and all the programmers of Whatnot. The growth that we have been through in such a short amount of time, and for them to even be able to keep it up and running on a regular basis is just mind blowing, honestly. Are they perfect? No. But are they always working on improving and getting better? Yes. The answer is yes. They're just like hammering away, trying to keep everything going and running and improving and everything. Fancy told me something about opening and closing shows. We got distracted and he didn't finish. Opening and closing shows. Let me think about that. Something about opening and closing shows. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about what he was maybe referring to. So, pausing shows. I'll have to look at some of my notes, and I did take pictures. They are actually going to email us a recap of all the sessions and all the classes. I literally got home at 10:30 last night, and then we went over to my son's house for a family thing. He actually picked us up from the airport, and by the time I got home and actually rolled into bed, it was 1 a.m. So I haven't had any time to do anything but kind of get home. So I'll have to kind of look through everything, and maybe on Thursday I'll have my mind put together a little bit more to look through some of that stuff and give you guys some more of my thoughts. Yeah. Shoppers come back later in the day for the same shipping charge. Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, that's something that we've been able to do for a long time, where you can end your show, and then as long as you go live again inside that same show within 2 hours, it's the same show, because you're actually just restarting the same show. So I have the instructions for that right here in the auction tab. Let me pin that. The only glitch with that is that you sometimes your video feed, well, most likely your video feed is going to be kind of off, because the system still recognizes it as the same show, but because you went off for a little while, then the timing is a little bit off. So you may not be able to rely as heavily on your video receipts for that show if you do it. All right, let me see what I'm missing here with questions. Okay, when we ship flat rate, should we start adjusting to the correct weight of the box? Well, flat rate doesn't matter. I don't think that will still matter, because flat rate can be up to 70 pounds, because if it fits, it ships. The Postal Service doesn't care about the weight of the box, as long as you're using the correct box. That's what matters with flat rate. But yeah, you can raid when you do the show restart. You can end, you can raid, you can do everything the same. You just have to use those instructions to restart your show within 2 hours. And if it's even 1 second past 2 hours, it won't work. The show is dead at that point. So you can't restart it after 2 hours. Let's see, shoppers coming back. Okay, yeah, we get that. Let me see what Kate was asking. People don't have wings for a reason. Oh yeah, no kidding. Let's see. I hope they have one soon on the West Coast. Hey, fishing freaky, welcome in. Carrier adjustments. Yep. Okay, so I'm not sure what Kate was asking. I probably missed it. Make sure if you have something you want me to read, that you have a question mark on it, so it shows up in bold because it's too hard for me to go through chat and find it. Let's see. I don't understand how we are supposed to know what size box we should be using, or flat rate or not a flat rate box. Okay. So go into the auction tab and let me pin this guide. Here's the thing about how shipping works on Whatnot. Because we have no way of knowing when we go live how many items a person is going to buy, they could buy one, they could buy 50. And so there's really no like magical formula for, knowing what you're going to have to do on the back end. So the thing that's super important is that you choose your basic shipping setting based on what you sell, because you have to have thought it through, that what am I going to do if someone only buys one, and what am I going to do if someone buys 50. So you've got to have that in your mind, and it also helps you decide what you're going to sell, what type of items you're going to sell, how you're going to sell them, how many you might even put in a show to sell. You've got to really think that through. And then on the back end, you have to deal with whatever happened. And so you've got to be prepared. And so the most important thing is that everything is sold at the accurate weight, so that if they only buy one item, you're going to be able to ship it accurately. And if they buy 50 items, you're going to be able to figure it out. Well, we only have 5 adjustments right now. But remember that those adjustments are only for after the fact. If you need to change, unbundle, bundle, or change the type of packaging that other than it originally said, like you're changing from flat rate to Ground Advantage, or Ground Advantage to priority, or something like that. That's for after the fact. So that only covers you if, something wasn't correct, or if they bought too much, then we'll fit in you had your settings for flat rate, they bought way too much, you have to unbundle it into 2 orders or something like that. I don't know that the 5 adjustments are going away. I don't think so. I haven't been told that. But what is going to happen is that you're going to have to start helping pay for any times that you send out a package incorrectly. So that's what that new thing is showing. It's showing that you sent out packages underweight, or in the incorrect box, something that would have cost Whatnot money. They've been eating that. They've been paying for that. So the Postal Service can tell every time, and they track it, and they can charge back to the vendor any underweight, wrong label. So let's say you had a box that had a Ground Advantage sticker on it, but it was a priority box. It's the wrong label on the wrong box, so the rate is incorrect. So they would charge back to the vendor the incorrect weight. So you need to make sure you figure out your shipping and make sure that you aren't sending out. And I would say probably the biggest offender is sending out packaging that's underweight. And, so I get packages all the time. Yeah, sending 5 pounds of something with a 5-ounce label. I get stuff like that all the time. And most of the time, the post office lets it go through. But what I'm telling you is they know, and they charge that adjustment back to Whatnot, and Whatnot's been eating it, and they just can't anymore. It's costing too much money. Okay. So it's being rolled out. They didn't give us an exact date other than that thing's going to start showing up on your thing. And then within a few months of you having time, they're giving us time to fix our crap, right? So they're giving us time to get it fixed. So, but they haven't set an exact like drop dead date. So, yeah, when people don't ship their packages correctly, it affects all of us because buyers don't want to shop if they're having to pay because they don't always, charge, but it just depends on the local post office because some post offices are, maybe they have a lot of time on their hand in a rural area and they're going to really scrutinize and they're going to say, hey, this was shipped underweight and you owe whatever, to pick up your package. And that's really frustrating for a customer who thought they were getting that shipping's already paid and they show up the post office and they're like, hey, we need $25 for you to pick this up because it was shipped incorrectly. So yeah, so all the sellers that are using that one weight to send everything, they can still do that if they adjust it on the back end and ship it correctly. But yeah, they can't just print the label and send it out anymore. So you've got to use accurate weights. Let's see. And I saw the thing. I used to have an Etsy shop. I mean, I still technically do have an Etsy shop. I just am not doing much with it right now. Same thing is happening on Etsy right now too. So it's not new to us, or it's not a thing with just us. Does money get refunded somewhere if we bundle? No. That's why it's so important to have everything accurate up front because Whatnot does not refund shipping overages or underages or whatever. Okay. Yeah, I don't know that it necessarily mentioned a specific date, did it? Because like again, I said I don't have it showing up in mine yet. So if it does say a date in there, East Coast said our adjustments go away. I was told May 1st. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. So you've got to just learn how to ship correctly. And again, the biggest key is when you sell that item, sell it at the correct weight that you would need to be sent in, that it's got to include the packaging. So that if they buy one item, it's correct. And if they buy more than one item, but I know, and I know it's difficult because you think, okay, well, if I include the packaging and this is an item that has to be shipped in a box, that's a lot of added weight. And if they buy 10 of those, it's like the added weight for 10 boxes. So you've got to really think through what you're selling, how you're selling it. And if something has to be in its own packaging, that needs to be a custom shipping profile where it automatically only lets them buy that one item per package and it unbundles. So if they buy 5 of those, they're getting 5 packages. And that was already known up front. No issue because they can see what the shipping costs and they're willing to pay separate shipping on those 5 items if they want them. Just like you would on a lot of other platforms where if you go buy on the Bay or on Amazon, you're buying from different vendors a lot of times and the shipping is separate if you have to buy from different people. Okay. How much weight is allowed for the 921? Well, if you're using flat rate boxes, it has to be the flat rate boxes. Then it can fit up to 70 pounds. If you're using priority boxes, then it only allows up to 5 pounds and then it flips to Ground Advantage. So you have to decide if you're shipping with flat rate, if you have your settings set for flat rate on both 1 to 5 pounds and 5 pounds and over, then it is up to 70 pounds. No extra charge. If you are shipping priority on 1 to 5 pounds, once it hits 5 pounds, if you have priority for also over 5 pounds, it's going to incrementally add additional cost for the priority rate, because priority with that's not flat rate is based on weight. So yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I love flat rate too. If you sell items that will mostly fit in flat rate packaging, it's to your advantage to take advantage of flat rate, because then the weight doesn't matter. So a lot of clothing sellers are using custom shipping profiles where they approximately know how many items can fit in a flat rate box. So they'll have a custom profile on their listings that allows, like, I heard a couple of people throwing out the number of 5 or 7. They'll allow up to 5 items per box. If you're selling thicker, heavier things during the winter, sweaters, jackets, maybe it's only 1 or 2. But they just set their profile that way for the show, so that when someone comes in their show, if they buy 3 sweaters, bam, 1 flat rate box. But the minute they buy a 4th sweater, it unbundles it into a new box. And that was already done before you ever go to ship it. So that person is going to have 2 separate orders. And they are shipping in, priority if it's under 5 pounds, ground advantage if it's over. So they already have it set up that way. So, yep. Yeah, 2 sweaters might fit, but you might be able to fit 5 jeans or 10 shirts, so it just depends on what you sell. So that thing I have pinned right there just helps you read through that and go, okay, if I sell this, this is probably the best setting. And I can't answer it exactly for you. I just can't. I can't sit there, see your stuff and go, oh, well, you should do this, you should do that. You're going to have to figure it out based on what you sell, what your items are, and what's going to work for you. So April says, yeah, I got screwed with flat rate in a clothing show, had to unbundle 1 order into 8 boxes. Yeah. So you need to use custom profiles like that, where it automatically unbundles to a separate order once they hit X number of items, you decide. So, have your shipping settings set correctly for that to work. And that's the beauty also of having something pre-listed. It has the exact weight that it needs right on the listing. No question. The hard part is the random pulls, because it's hard for you to have everything organized in a way, but you have to do it. You have to have it organized in a way that will work. Okay. That's too bad for you. All right, Angela says, I have one buyer that consistently has 5 to 10 pounds. Whatnot automatically puts it as priority in one label. What I need to change this? Whatnot automatically puts it as priority in one label. Okay, so they tried it. So the way the shipping works is also based on where someone lives. Because shipping if you look at this, let me show you this. Everything is regionalized with the post office. So I just pinned this. And so they do try to do smart bundling, because someone who lives closer to you, the rate for them is a little bit lower on the ground advantage rates and priority rates, where it's based on weight, than it is flat rate is the same no matter what, right? But if you have someone that lives closer versus farther away, it's a different rate. Well, the reason that you think it's not smart is because it can only go based on what you've put in there, right? Whatever you put in there is all it knows. It doesn't know that it was jeans instead of t-shirts. That's on you. You've got to put your listings as accurate as you can and be smart about how you sell and what weight you sell things under. And if you use custom profiles, use those custom profiles to help protect you from the people who buy too much. Have it set so it automatically unbundles their orders so you're not having to pay their shipping on the back end or worry about it bundling their orders all together if that doesn't work. So use those custom profiles. Did they discuss ways to better market or get new buyers to your shows? Yeah. And one of the biggest things is listings, right? New buyers are trained to search for specific items. And when they come to your shop or your show and all they see is A, 4 to 7 ounces, B, they leave. They don't know what the heck you have nothing for them to shop for, nothing for them to see. They leave. That's what the statistics show. So that's a big thing everybody needs to start doing is putting in quality listings so you actually show some of the stuff you're going to sell. And then they talked a lot about thumbnails. And the vibe that I got is lean away from funky, cutesy AI that shows nothing and lean more towards authentic, actually showing what you're selling. Because people want to really see what you're actually going to sell. So, that people are looking for the real deal, not fluffy AI generated thumbnails. So, and a thumbnail and a title is huge, 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 huge because the thumbnail shows, what you're going to sell and the title tells them what you're going to sell. And one of the tips they gave was if you had a thumbnail, the picture with no words, so no words, take out all words, take out the title, and don't have any words on the picture, that they should be able to tell from that what you're going to be selling and want to come. So if you can't achieve that with your thumbnail, then you're missing a lot of buyers. A lot of people don't read, they just look at the pictures. It's very visual. They've proven that on social media, right? People look at the picture and don't even read the dang words. How many times have people come into your show asking for something and you're not even doing a show that has anything to do with what they're asking for? And you're like, do people not read? Yeah, they don't. They don't read. They look at the picture and they click it. And maybe what one person's interpretation of what your picture shows is completely different than what someone else thinks you're selling. So your picture on your thumbnail needs to accurately reflect what you're selling. So as cute as your dog is, as beautiful as the field outside of your house is, that's not what you're selling. You can't sell your dog. It's against terms of service. So they shouldn't be on your thumbnail. All right. So your thumbnail needs to show what you're selling. That's the number one way people see and what they see to want to come to your show. So it needs to reflect what they're going to be able to buy. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Show notes. Yeah, show notes are huge to help people see things. Sailor says, yeah, as a high school teacher, my students do not read. Yeah. How many times is the first question on there, put your name on the damn paper? And they still don't do it, right? I had teachers all the time that did that. Question number 1, put your name on the paper. Right? Um, yeah, selling fabric and someone comes in. Do you have Pokemon cards? And you're just like, I mean, it's so tempting to say something super rude, but you have to be diplomatic, right? So it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Yeah, people just don't read. So you have to put your thumbnail to make it as good as possible to show what you're selling. How do you make sure that the giveaway shipping charge is at the least? You need to follow the envelope shipping guide. Let me pull that up. Here we go. So that's pinned right now. Make sure you have a screenshot of that. Read through it. Make sure you have the main 3 points on there set up correctly. And if you have them set up correctly, it will work. So read through that whole thing. Ask questions after you read it, if you need to. Let's see. There are sellers who are selling the service of looking at other sellers' shipping and profiles. Is that legal? I mean, technically, probably it's okay, but I don't charge to look at someone's profile. I mean, that should be a courtesy. I pull people's profiles up on my seller chats all the time and look at them and give them feedback. But, if they're a big seller and time is money and they want to charge for that, I don't think anywhere in terms of service, if you as long as you're still shipping them something, because if you sell someone something, you have to ship them something physical. So if they're shipping them some kind of tip sheet or something in exchange, or because you still have to ship them something physically, so their listing needs to say what they're going to get in the mail. Yeah. But yeah, I don't like the charge for, honestly, I feel like if you go into a big person show and they actually do take the time to shout you out and do all the things to promote you that you're paying for, then it might be worth it to get you some followers. But are they going to be organic people who will come buy from you? It depends on the category that person's in. It depends on, a lot of factors. So be really careful about spending money to promote, spending money to have them look at your profile. But there are some sellers who the way that they do it does help, but is it worth the money you're paying? Would it be better to do other things to get more organic, followers and buyers? Probably. Organic is always best. Organic means they genuinely like you, want to be in your show, want to buy from you, like what you're doing, etc., etc., versus, someone else saying, hey, they're awesome, go follow them, go bookmark their shows, let's go buy them. But a raid is different. If you have a big seller who raids you and who, pumps you up before they go raid and tells people to stick around and give you some love, and that could go a long way. It just all depends on a lot of factors. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, exactly. So you've known a lot of people who've bought those kind of things. There were 800 people in the room and they get less than 10 followers. Was that worth the $25 to $50 you spent to gift to chat, and you got 10 unorganic nice people who actually went and followed you? Probably not. So yeah. Setting up rewards coupon incentive. Who pays for the coupon? If you set up your rewards program, you pay for the coupon. It comes out of your sales. So yeah, Whatnot doesn't pay that. So any coupons, either in the rewards program or coupons you set up through the marketing, that comes out of your profits. So you need to make sure you're doing what, however you're setting it up, you can afford to do it and it makes sense. Let's see, awesome vintage and a follower doesn't mean they actually turn into buyers or ever go to your show. Exactly. Phil Tripp says our category has exploded recently. I feel like I need to do some more community building within our corner. Yeah, community building should be an ongoing. You need to always be networking, always, because that's really how you organically, find people within the app. And then you need to be doing social media. That's how we all bring new buyers to the platform. And Whatnot is expanding their marketing exponentially. How many of you have seen TV ads lately? They really are expanding their marketing efforts, and it has made a huge difference. A huge difference. So, I mean, if I look at my stats for my shows for the last, ever since the Super Bowl, when they really started pumping money into marketing, I get, there have been shows where I had more new buyers than non-new buyers. So, yeah. KC Stitches and Stories. My fabric people have been so supportive of my shows, even though I'm not selling fabric. I have had almost 25 followers from my fabric family. Yeah. So you can switch over to other categories, and usually you'll get people support you. They may not necessarily buy as much, but they definitely will support you if they like you. So Awesome says, yes, I've had Whatnot ads come up on YouTube, HBO Max, Hulu. Yeah, they're really advertising. It's been a huge effort. Let's see, Fabric and Treasure. I had a show this last week. What, almost new, all new buyers. Yeah. So they're here, but how are we going to keep them here is another key. So, like I was saying, you got to keep them here by creating a good experience, having things that they can see that you have that they can buy. And then you've got to ship timely. You've got to create a good experience, because every time we have new buyers, if their experience isn't good, it affects all of us, because they're just not going to come back. Because they don't necessarily think, oh, that was just Sally's show that I had a bad experience in. They attribute it to the whole platform and may never come back to Whatnot, period. If they're brand new. So you, as the seller, you don't know if this is, they've already been buying and they just bought new from you, or if this is their first time on the platform. So treat every new buyer as if this is their first time on here, and you need to make sure they want to come back. So, make it a good experience so they all come back. And that they're working really, really hard to try and make sure buyers have a good experience by getting rid of scammy sellers before they ever get to scam anyone. So if you see anything suspicious, like what was I doing? Oh, I was looking under the category for handmade, because I met a bunch of really cool handmade sellers while I was there at the summit. And I was looking under arts and handmaids and re-familiarizing myself with all the different breakout categories. Because we actually have a handmade clothing category, and that's the one I was looking under. And I pulled up, I was looking through the schedule of who's scheduled in that category, and these shows popped up where the usernames are all funky, don't make sense. They have no followers, and yet they had listings in their shop for clothing that looked obviously not handmade, and they were all at ridiculous prices, like $200 for a tank top or something. And I'm like, what's their shtick? And they all kind of looked the same. Some of them even had the same items. So I took a screenshot and I'm going to send it and say, someone look into these sellers. They don't seem legit. What are they doing on our platform? So if you see stuff like that, report it. so that we can get those kind of scammers off the platform. I think probably what they're trying to capture is the thing they exactly said none of us are doing a good job of, which is actually listing items. So they were putting it in there with specific keywords and names, and they might catch a few idiots who go in and buy. Well, I shouldn't say they're idiots, but people who unknowingly go buy something because it was pre-listed with pictures, and they did have nice pictures. That was the thing. They had legit pictures on there of these items and all these listings. So I was like, this is suspicious. Um yeah, it sounds like something really it's obviously something. So I kind of am like, oh, take a picture, send it in, go look at these, because this doesn't look right. Let's see. I was never here says don't do a split chat screen if you're trying to sell. It's confusing for the shoppers. Also, yelling at your child every 5 minutes is not good. Yeah, no. If you have family drama a lot, you need to separate yourself from your family during your shows, because it's the truth. People are annoyed with that. They won't come back if every 5 minutes you're getting interrupted with kids and noise and all that kind of stuff. And if it's constant, if it's every once in a while, it's forgiven. But if it's pretty constant, people are just like, their shows are so annoying. So agreed. Um, let's see. Small tips as they are sewing has made a nice difference for me and has me shopping more. Oh yeah. So Tiff says she likes it when um people are doing like the demos and showing what you can create, that kind of stuff. Is that what you're talking about, Tiff? So, hey, what's going on? Welcome in. What goes around? Let's see. I did that because I kept getting random buyers buying from my shop while I wasn't live. But as soon as I would go look at a profile, it was removed. Yeah. Yeah, we have some weird scammers. I have some people coming into my shows and buying stuff out of the buy it now for the less expensive items, and I ship it and it comes right back to me. And what they're doing is they're using fake names, fake addresses, buying things. I think the scam is that they're doing small charges to see if that credit card that they stole and that number will go through. And then if they test to see if it'll go through on a smaller dollar item. And then if it does, then they start swiping on big time stuff. And so then when you send it, it comes back because it was a fake name with a fake address. So, but there's nothing I can do about it, 'cause you go look and that account has been closed. Yeah. So, yeah, they're relentless. But really, honestly, if there's nothing you can do with those, you got paid, you can open it, you can put it back in your inventory. Do double check though, and make sure they're not a legit account that actually, just had the wrong address or something. So, let's see. Oh, Feds just busted. Oh, hey, welcome in, Gene or George, whoever that is with City Stash. Feds busted a huge gift card scamming this month, so I hope that slows it. Good, yeah, because it's been pretty bad. I mean, I had one show where I had like 5 of those orders, and then they all came back. And I mean, I still got paid, but it sucks because people are ripping other people off. And I had to take the time to package those. And they were all in Ground Advantage, my own bubble mailer, or not bubble, poly mailers that I pay money for, right? That's time, that's money. And then it just comes back to me. So all around, it's, it kind of sucks. So, yep. So that's good news that they just busted a bunch of them. So yeah. All right. Let's see. There was a young selling and most of the show was here, face looking disappointed. I wondered who was going to ship. Huh. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're doing on that one. What you're saying on that one. All right, let me fix my screen to questions again. Let's see. Did Handmade change delivery time? Seller was using 12 to 14 days to ship to customer. Not that I know of. Probably what they're doing is sending a card in the mail under, you know, the letter rate, and then they're sending it to you later. That's technically not allowed, because they haven't, to my knowledge, unless a seller was given special permission, they do not allow us yet with Handmade to take custom orders and then not ship it for, however long it takes to make it. So if you're going to do Handmade, it either needs to be pre-made or it needs to be something you can still make and ship within the 2-day time frame. Because I don't know of any incidences where you still have extra time. So yeah. I mean, yeah, you can ship it like that, but you're going to get a bad rating, and you'll actually eventually get your account closed down if they're seeing that you're not shipping for long periods. But I'm guessing that's probably what they were doing, is shipping them a card and then shipping the item later. But the problem is they're having to spend their own money to ship it second, because the label that Whatnot generates is with the original order. So they're having to, yeah, it's all laid out in terms. You can't do that. So, and I know that's frustrating for Handmade sellers. They're used to, Etsy rules where you can go in and say, okay, you set your own shipping time based on, custom orders. And we're not there yet. I don't know that Whatnot's ever going to be there. Whatnot is all about, auctions, fast shipping time, and people getting their stuff quickly, and the whole, way it's set up. So, maybe what you sell, if you're doing Handmade, is not for this platform. Do those on a different platform and do what you can fulfill in the 1 to 2 day shipping time on Whatnot. It just, yeah, it just depends on what works. Custom cards are the same way. Yeah, the custom cards, he's sending a card, right? And then you get your order later, but he's willing to eat the shipping on that and pay separate shipping, because it's, he's sending cards. They're not too heavy and it's included in his price. But, you know, but even that, I don't know, Let's see, some discussion about this. People are selling a contract and mailing it, and then when the item is finished, listing and selling the item. Oh, yeah. See, and I don't know, because is that within terms of service? I'm not sure. I saw in my seller hub that youth can sell with parent permission. You think it was a teenager? Oh, yeah. So yes, I mean, go read that too about kids selling. Make sure you're following terms of service on that. If you showed us how to change the category of show during the middle of the show, can you do that again? So you just go into the web version. I can't show you here because I don't have a laptop, but I'll talk you through it. So you have your web version open on a laptop. You go into Seller Hub shows. You go to the live show that you're in, edit show, change the category, save. It will change the category during the live show. And then if you want to change it back, you do the same thing. It just makes it so that if you feel like you're in a show under one category and you're just not getting a lot of people in there, you can. So let's say you're doing, for example, vintage linens and you scheduled it under quilting, sewing, fabric, and you're just not getting a lot of traction, which personally I think those shows, if all you're selling is vintage linens, you probably should have it under vintage decor from the get-go. But let's, in this scenario, say you scheduled it under quilting, fabric, sewing. Then mid-show, you can go in Seller Hub, shows, pull up that show because it'll be the live show that's on there. Edit show. This is all on web. Edit show, change the category, save it. And you also have to redo the setting for auction and the tags if you want to save, and then it does change the category in the system. So when people are searching for that show, it now shows up under. So let's say you then saved it to vintage decor, and now it's going to be in vintage decor, and you're going to start getting the people in vintage decor coming in. That's one of the things they talked about at the summit is the way the algorithms work. The way the algorithms work, you have to understand that it's based on what the user, the person who is coming to your shows, it's based on their preferences. It has almost nothing to do with, anything else you can do. When someone comes onto the platform and it takes you to the For You page, it feeds you what you've selected. You came into the app, you said, I like, fabric, I like junk journal stuff, I like linens, I like ephemera, I like women's contemporary. Let's say those are the categories you picked that you like. That's what it's going to show you. And it especially shows you, the very first thing it's going to show you is shows you bookmarked. That's why bookmarks are so important. And they really emphasized that. Bookmarks are super important because when someone comes into that platform, if they bookmarked your show, it shows up first. And they also get the notifications depending on how their notification settings are. So bookmarks and notifications are the number one thing that matter for people being able to find your show. So why do you think my number one tip is schedule shows? That's how people, if you don't have a show, nobody can bookmark it. You've got to have a lot of shows on your schedule so that people can bookmark them. And you should be in your shows being very specific. This was another tip they said. Be very specific when you invite people to bookmark your upcoming shows. Is it okay to say bookmark my upcoming shows? Yeah. But how about I'm having a show on Saturday selling yacht, and let's pull it up. Can everyone pull that up right now and bookmark it for me? You're not going to want to miss this show. If you're very specific about inviting people to bookmark your upcoming shows, you have a definite bookmark instead of go in and bookmark all my upcoming shows. They aren't going to want to sit there and miss what you're selling right now to go bookmark all your shows. Take a pause for a second and actually specifically have them go with you to bookmark that show. So pull it up on your extra device, show them on the screen. This show's coming up. Can you go bookmark it with me? And you're not going to want to miss this because blah, 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 blah. So really, really push that home and you're going to get more bookmarks. It's under seller status, teen seller approval, 13 to 17 age with parent permission. So they're under 17. They have to have parent permission. They can't be selling on their own. There you go. All right. So yeah, bookmarks. So the way that the algorithms work, if you aren't catering to the people that want to buy what you sell, they aren't going to find you. You've got to make sure they're bookmarking your shows. You've got to make sure your shows are in the correct category. You've got to make sure that you have items listed in the correct category so that those things show up so people will, come and find your profile, your shop, your items and bookmark your shows. So that's huge. That's huge. All right. Let me see if I miss it. Sorry, I'm trying to keep track of everything on here at the same time. So if I'm missing something, let me know, shout it out. Let's see. I don't see any new questions that I didn't already see. Let's see. I did miss this one. I have a few local buyers that are unable to do local pickup. It's not offered, even though others in my show are able to. They may, because they have to, it's not even showing up as an option for them. Have them check their address, have them check to make sure that they have gone into their wallet and opted in. Because it may, for some reason, maybe they have the wrong address in there as their actual account address. And so it's not showing them the option. So have them check all of that. So no option is all at all is showing up for them. I would have the message customer service with your username and see. Oh, pick up in my shows, but you can't. Well, your husband can't do it because it won't allow him to buy from you, period, because he lives in the same house, right? So it wouldn't even show up as an option on his account. I don't know exactly how they calculate the distance for local pickup because I have people that are in my entire state that it's showing them that option. But I have some customers that live 2 hours away who don't want to do local pickup because that's not worth it. Gas is too expensive. It's cheaper for them to get it shipped. So the people that I have doing local pickup, live within 15, 20-minute drive or closer. So then it's worth it. Yeah. So you have Tennessee buyers that it's offered and you're in Washington. That doesn't make sense. Well, so for a while there, it was glitchy because when they brought on the pallet shows, the pallet sellers had to be able to offer local pickup to everybody because there were buyers who were willing to drive to pick up their pallet. But it shouldn't be offering local pickup to anyone except for people that are within drivable distance of you. So, yeah. Leather Company just raided. Thank you so much for the raid, Leather Company. Let's pull up your profile. Boom. Here is Leather Company. Can everyone give them a follow? And brand new seller, 13 items sold. I'm assuming you sell leather. Leather for crafting and making small accessories. They have a show scheduled on May 1st. Can everyone please bookmark their upcoming shows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have 8 shows that you can bookmark. Thank you so much for the raid, Leather Company. And feel free to tell us a little bit more about what you do. And they do have a very lengthy description on here of all the different types of leather they have. And they do have listings to show. And I like that their thumbnail is showing exactly what they're selling. So awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see. Aunt Barbie says I have local pickup. Auntie Barbie, I have local pickup offered for everyone I buy from. So everyone you buy from has it's showing up as an option for you. So you are a business that's been in business for over 40 years selling leather, just getting on whatnot now. Well, welcome. Welcome. You're in an amazing place, and I wish you all the luck in the world. And yeah, I'm just here helping sellers learn how to use the platform, sharing information. And so you're in a good place. And please, everyone, support a new seller, give them a follow, and bookmark those upcoming shows for them because it does make a difference. So I just pinned them in chat again. Please give them a follow. So a lot of times I'll buy stickers to support a seller, but I don't actually want them, so I turned it on. Oh, yeah. So you turned it on. So yeah, that's the other thing. If the person doesn't turn it on themselves, they won't see it. So they've got to go into their wallet and say they're willing. They're willing. Um, the only caution I would have is sometimes with that, they still have to print a label. And so technically, and now with the in-app scanning, Whatnot is watching for scans that look suspicious, meaning it's not actually a package. So when you print your labels, do not take the in-app scan picture until you actually have that label on a package, because otherwise that is marked as suspicious that you've printed the label but it's not on a package, meaning are you actually going to send it? Because the customer sees that photo and Whatnot audits for suspicious. A buyer can actually pull up their orders, and if that scan looks suspicious, they can report it. So they're watching for that. And you do need to be using that in app scanner. And you do need to scan it when it's on the package. Yeah. Yeah. They actually comes up and says, does this look right? Does this look suspicious? So if it's not on the package, you shouldn't be taking a picture of it yet. So wait until it's on the package. Okay. Because I've actually had some where they're holding it and you can see their hand. They're holding the label up, not on the package, and their hand is in the picture, and you're like, yeah, pre-package. So yeah, don't do that. Put it on the package. They want a picture of the entire package, yes. I don't know that mine necessarily show the entire package, but it's got to be able to be obvious that it's on a poly mailer on the box. So yeah, I had a real big seller send a photo of a screen. It was disappointing for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Put it on the package before you scan it. I put tape on my label just recently. The app keeps stating I am scanning a screen. So now I scan, then tape the label. It's a thermal label. Let's see, I put tape on my label. Oh, you put tape on your labels to like cover the name to protect it. You don't need to do that with thermal labels. So I would say, Becca, don't do that. Just put the label on the package and then scan it. Because with thermal labels, they don't have that issue of fading as much as like printed labels. Yeah, so don't do that. Or put it on the package and then add the tape after if you feel like that's an issue. But I haven't seen that. I've never had that be an issue because thermal ink isn't really ink. And if it gets wet, it's not like regular ink where it fades. It just kind of crinkles up. So yeah, not usually an issue. And if your smear when they get wet, then yeah, maybe you don't have the right kind. Using certain type over a printed thermal will actually remove the ink. Yeah, if it's a burn, not Yeah, it's a burn, not an ink. So I haven't had any issues with mine. But I know what you're talking about because when I printed labels on before I got a thermal printer, when I printed them on either paper or other regular label paper, I also did that. Yeah. So double check. It's actually a heat thing. So if you take a thermal label and iron it, it turns black because it's a heat thing. Yeah. Yeah, I've never had issues with mine either. So yeah, I would check that. All right. Let me see if I make sure I didn't miss anything. Let's see. You had to ship yourself your own fabric. How did it even let you buy it? Let's see. It has said that to me a couple times. I'm like, oh yeah, they want a picture. Okay. What about setting up captions? Medical mama, tell me what you mean by that. What do you mean about captions? Let's see. Will they stop the fact that local pickup address is public? Well, you need to put in there what you want. That's up to you. So when you do local, if you turn local pickup on, it asks you what you want to use for the pickup, and it actually suggests to you not to use your direct address if you're not comfortable with that. So you can choose, like you can choose a location like the Walmart parking lot or something, whatever, you're comfortable with if you don't want them coming to your house. So go in and change that on your own settings if you don't like it. All right, let's see. Yeah, and sorry, medical, I didn't see that until just now. So if you're gone, there are deaf shoppers and having problems with closed captions. Yes, they're aware of that. Um, I don't have a good answer for you, honestly, because of how all the different. So you've got iOS, you've got Android, you've got web, and people use different servers, and just all depends on what the seller is using, what the buyer is using, and closed captions just are not always working for everybody. It's frustrating. So they are aware of it and trying to figure out how to make it work. Yeah, police station is a good idea. The police station parking lot. Yes, you can get around that by using OBS. That's for sure. So if you have a lot of deaf customers that are aware of, use OBS and turn it on through OBS. So as a mod, as long as that person is deaf, is in chat, I don't mind typing out what is being communicated. Yeah, that would be awesome if you have a mod that's willing to, type stuff out. OBS is software that you can download on your web version. And then instead of running everything through Whatnot, you actually run everything through the OBS, and think of it as it's based on per device. So you tell it's a system that you tell it, okay, I've got this iPhone, I've got this laptop, I've got this iPad, and then you can run the show through the OBS system and change screens. You can do special effects. You can do closed captions. You can, just do all different kinds of things. I kind of have avoided using it because, well, partly because it's a whole nother thing you have to learn how to use, but also you've got to have someone that's able to kind of run it while you're doing the show And if you can't do them both at the same time, it gets complicated. And there's some glitchy. You have to find the right one that works with all your devices. So it can get kind of glitchy. So, but yeah, you can definitely work. They showed using OBS at the summit, but they didn't go into a lot of detail with it. But they encourage that you can definitely use that to your advantage to give you a lot of extra features that you don't have with just using the app the way it's set up. So, yeah. And I always forget what it stands for. OBS stands for something system. But there's free versions. It's just a type of software that's been developed. There's free versions. Yeah, open broadcast system, I think is what it is. Yeah. Yep, that's what it stands for. Because it basically just allows you, it's kind of like a spreadsheet, honestly. It allows you to just plug in the different devices that you're using, and then it controls what goes on each device. So, it controls what you're displaying on the camera device. It can control special effects coming from the web. It can control when you're using what device for what feature. It just kind of allows you to kind of program it. So it's just a kind of a tech it's kind of like upping your production into an actual broadcasting system that allows you to control the different things. So when you go to like a sporting event and they have the big screen, they're using OBS to do the different things. So like when the screen switches from the score to a live cam, they've switched from, the one computer showing the scoreboard to the other computer with the camera, or to a camera, I mean, showing the live shot of the lovers in the corner or whatever. That's what they're using on the big screen to do those different things. It's the same thing on a bigger scale. Yeah. Welcome in, welcome in. All right. So I need to get going here pretty quick. Thank you everyone for joining. And if you have questions, I'm going to go through all my notes, go through the like I said, they told us they're going to email us recaps of all the classes. I don't know when I'll exactly get that, but I'll kind of go through and do maybe a highlight show next week of all the things that they talked about at the Seller Summit. Definitely make a goal to, save up for a trip for the next time they offer one. Like I said, their goal was to have this came directly from Kenny, his mouth. He said his thought is a big one in the East Coast, a big one in the West Coast, and then one big central one for anyone who wants to come. That way, a lot more sellers can participate. But we'll see what happens. So they're just growing so fast, you guys, and it really is amazing to think that the platform is as young as it is, and the amount of growth we've had in that short amount of time. And the two original founders were there and talked. And honestly, I think, they're just in like mind blown honest of the whole thing. They literally started this in, in a basement kind of deal. They were just the original startups with an idea, and it has exploded. So yeah. Let's see. I don't have tips turned on. um, yeah, I've never turned them off, so it should allow you to. I don't know why it wouldn't. You just click my name, but thank you. So yeah, you don't need to tip me. So, but if you want to, as far as I know, they're turned on. So yeah, am I selling Pokemon cards? So Yeah, it should be on. You just click my name and it allows you to. I don't have, sometimes it doesn't show up in the side depending on if what device you're on. So, oh, thank you, Phil Trip. You didn't need to do that. That was very kind of you. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to tip, that's on you. I'm not out here begging for tips. I honestly, this is truly from my heart. I love to help see other people succeed. And if in some way something that I do or say helps someone be successful, I'm just like thrilled beyond belief. Because this app really does change lives if you're willing to put in the effort, if you're willing to learn how it works. And the people who are successful on this platform are the people who just go for it. They are not the ones in chats whining and complaining about what doesn't work, what's frustrating. They're the people to just figure it out and go for it, right? I mean, put in the work, put in the effort, make it happen. I'm here to give you tips and information to help you make it happen. I'm not going to come hold your hand. I'm not going to come do it for you. I physically cannot. If you want to do it, do it. I'm giving you the information. Take it and run. Take it and run and don't wait. Yeah, positivity and hard work is what's going to make it happen. And I can tell you right now, if I have people in my chat that come in and they're like, well, I wish this, I wish that, I wish this doesn't work, this sucks. I'm like, well, that's your attitude. Guess what? It's not going to work for you because you spend too much time complaining about what's not working instead of making it work. You know, you can always find a way to make it work for you if you figure it out and you put the time in and you make it happen, you know, but you've got to do it. So I've had a couple of sellers who came to my chats. I have one that came probably about a year and a half ago, and she came to my chats. She faithfully did everything I told her to do. And within 6 months, she was a premier seller and she's never looked back. And she's like, yeah, the formula works. You just do what you're told works. I mean, I'm telling you from the perspective of someone who's been on the platform for 4 years, if you do certain things consistently and you decide at what pace. Now, she was that wanted to shoot for the stars from day one, and she was on a fast pace. She went live every day, whatever. You don't necessarily have to be on that fast of a track, but you still want to have consistent growth. You want to be grow at the pace that works for you, but you know yeah, and don't be afraid. Yeah, don't be afraid to pivot, try something new. But consistency, it's up to you what you want to do. So yeah, I'm not here looking for accolades. I give this time when I'm on my treadmill because one day I was like walking on my treadmill like I normally do. And I had the light bulb come on. And I'm like, I can sit here and go into other people's shows and buy stuff and network, or I can do a seller chat and share what I know and help people and give advice and, pay it forward because there were like two people on the app doing this when I joined, and their help was invaluable to me to help me get going. And I'm like, if I can do that and pay it forward, that's like, I mean, I was like, that's freaking amazing. So, but it's up to you to put in the effort to make it work. And if what you're doing is not working, then you need to figure out what is going to work. You just have to decide, you know, if it's going to, and this platform isn't for everybody. That's the truth. Not everybody has the skills, the time, the natural ability to go live and make it work, you know, unless you really change a lot of things about what you're doing. So if it's not for you, don't beat yourself up. That's okay. You know, not everything is for everybody, you know, but the beauty of Whatnot is that, you know, it can be for everybody who's willing to make it work for you, because there are very few boundaries. You know, it's almost unlimited what you can do within, you know, because the terms of service are pretty wide open. You can sell almost anything. You can do your shows almost any way. You know, there's just not a lot of boundaries for what you can do. And I mean, I'm just like mind blown every day when I go in the platform and learn about someone who's doing something new. You know, you would think that it's all been done, all been tried. No, people come up with amazing new ways to do things, amazing things. And honestly, a lot of the things that Whatnot does are because the sellers invented it first. The sellers did it. We come up with a lot of the ideas that they implement, and they own that. They totally admit that. You know, it's like the sellers want this, we do it. The sellers created this, the sellers started doing this, we made it work, you know? So, and sometimes they have to take things away that we love, because programming, you know, does have its limits, you know? But anyway, I am super stoked to have gone to that seller summit. I'm back. I've got to get my butt working now so I can start selling again. And yeah, Awesome Vintage says I ended up in a new category by chance and it's completely changed my shows. Never thought I'd even sell in that category. Yes, 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 yes. I love that. There are a ton of sellers who come on the platform thinking I'm going to sell this, and then it sucks and it doesn't work. And instead of giving up, they pivot. So you've got to be willing to be flexible, pivot, change, look for other opportunities, and yeah, you can make something beautiful happen. Super sales. Jackie is in the room. Welcome in. We're just wrapping up. Um, so come back on Thursday. If maybe I'll have some additional info if they've sent us back some of that, some of the recaps. I'll tell you about some more of the stuff that I experienced. And then hopefully by next week, I'll have those recaps back and I can kind of have time to go through my notes. And yeah, you slept in today and missed the recap. Yeah. So yeah, it was an amazing summit. Super excited about the opportunity that I had to go. And we'll talk about it some more. So thanks everyone for being here. I'm going to go find someone to raid. Let me go see who is out there. Honestly, one of the advice that I got from some of the bigger sellers was stop always rating into your own category. That was one of the big advice things I got, because in order to network, you've got to raid out into other categories frequently enough that you keep bringing in people that didn't know you exist. So I'm going to start taking that to heart. And even though I want to sell, you know, support all our fabric sellers and I'll still raid into fabric quilting, they were like, yeah, you got to start raiding out into other categories as well to kind of get your name out there. So I'm like, sounds good to me. Let's do it. So on that note, I'm going to raid into vintage decor. Let me see if I recognize. I mean, I still kind of like to raid into someone I at least know. I've heard their name or something, so you kind of know what to expect. But how about Beehive Treasures? She's doing salt and pepper shakers, so that sounds fun. So we're going to raid over to Beehive Treasures and raid out into another category. Here we go. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Hope to see you soon. Bye for now.